In Kwara State, nights used to be peaceful, a place where the only sound after sunset was the whisper of the wind through the trees. But one night, everything changed, and from that moment, the darkness was never the same. Gunshot echoes faintly. This is the story of a land forced to sleep with fear, and the people who refuse to surrender. To understand the fear in Kwara today, you must first remember the peace that once existed here. Calm village life, a woman washing clothes, children running, farmers sharpening tools. For generations, the people of Kwara lived with the rhythm as old as the soil. Farmers rose with the sun. Cattle grazed in the vast green fields. Villages were woven together like family, a place where doors were left open and strangers were welcomed with food and water. The tone slowly changes, but peace is fragile. Sometimes it breaks without warning. Cut to the forest, dark, quiet. The first signs were easy to ignore. Strange footsteps in the bush, whispers of men camping deep inside the forest, small thefts at farms, a missing cow here, a missing goat there. Thunder rumbles, night falls, and then the darkness changed. Reenactment. A quiet village at night, people sleeping, dogs bark in the distance. It was past midnight when the first attack came, a sound no one in the village would ever forget. The crack of a gunshot slicing through the silence. A woman wakes up startled. Children begin crying. At first, people thought it was a hunter, but then came the shouts, the footsteps, the roar of motorcycles. Door breaks open, but not graffiti. The bandits stormed the village like a storm without mercy. They moved from house to house, shouting orders, firing into the air. Some villagers escaped into the bush. Some were dragged away. Some never woke up again. Slow motion shots of villagers running into the night. By morning, a once peaceful community was changed forever. Homes were burned. Families were missing members. Children clung to their mothers, trembling. The land that once promised life now carried the smell of fear. Music softens but remains tense. This was not just an attack. This was a message that echoed across Kwara. We are here. The attacks did not stop. They grew, like a shadow swallowing the land. Map-style visual, narrative only. Kwara's rural LGAs mentioned slowly. From Patiji to Edu to Kayama to Asa. Villages that once lived in peace now whispered the same stories. Cut to scenes of deserted farms. Farmers stopped going to their farmlands, not because they didn't want to work, but because they didn't want to die. Cut to a lone elderly man staring at his empty field. Imagine tending land for 20 years, only to abandon it because every step toward it might be your last. Wind blows through an empty classroom. Schools closed. Children missed months of learning. Some classrooms never reopened. Cut to scenes of deserted farms. Farmers stopped going to their farmland, not because they didn't want to work, but because they didn't want to die. Cut to a lone elderly man staring at his empty field. Imagine tending land for 20 years, only to abandon it because every step toward it might be your last. Wind blows through an empty classroom. Schools closed. Children missed months of learning. Some classrooms never reopened. Fade into a slow shot of abandoned houses. Whole communities became ghost towns. Families fled with nothing. Some walked for miles in the dead of night to escape a terror they could not see, but could always hear. But Kwara did not collapse, because in every dark story, there are people who choose to stand. Show operatives gearing up. Security forces began pushing back. Army units, local hunters, vigilantes. They stepped into the forest others feared. Reenactment of a night operation. Flashlights, footsteps, whispers. They tracked hideouts. They rescued kidnapped villagers. They intercepted weapons and supplies meant for bandits. They arrested collaborators, men who repaired guns, men who provided fuel, men who fed the terror. Sunrise returns. And slowly, bit by bit, the people of Kwara began to breathe again. Show villagers rebuilding burned homes. A broken fence was rebuilt. A burned hut was repaired. Children returned to school. Farmers tested the soil again. Final emotional tone. This documentary is not just about bandits. It is about the people who refuse to surrender. It is about courage, resilience, and the land fighting to reclaim its peace.